Hello, Alex.
LSE Share Talk today. We're joined by Paul Johnson, Metal Tiger CEO. The ticker is on AIM is MTR. How's tricks?
Well, we're busy at the moment, and we're hugely enthused by some of the stuff that's been happening in the business, and the market seems to be sharing some, but perhaps not all of that enthusiasm. So yeah, things are good, but we're working harder probably than we ever have done, and it's we sat probably possibly in the early recovery phase from the bottom of the resources sector pullbacks over the last few years. We've got a really good diversified business model, and we've got projects that are really delivering on the exploration and development front. So yeah, it's a good time for us right now.
It seems to be Botswana at the moment. Seems to be the one that's coming out with you guys. You know, obviously people who don't follow your story, they won't know you've got Spain and obviously Thailand.
Yeah, I mean we started off with the Thai interest when we formed Metal Tiger in mid 14. And we've been working steadily on those, and we've accelerated that recently with the acquisition of our joint venture partner Seams, that's Southeast Asian Mining, their entire assets in Thailand. We bolted on Spain, Tanzanian interests in late 14, early 15, and we've recently signed an option exercise on a Russian tailings project with Eurasia Mining. And the Botswanan transaction came in towards the back end of 15, as people will note from the RNS. And that has been a major positive for us in recent weeks in terms of the share price. So it's the focus of attention, and
Yeah.
in the company, I can tell you, it's the a significant focus of attention right now with the results that we've been finding on the ground.
It's definitely because you've got mods in Australia, the joint venture with Metal Tiger. The license in Botswana must be very large. The actual area.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge area. If you actually look on the MOD Resources website, that's our joint venture partner. They're listed on the ASX with the ticker MOD.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to remember the Ministry of Defence, but MOD, and you will see that they've got a chart that shows the area, or a map that shows the area, and it's absolutely enormous. But what is key to that particular project, and is now starting to be demonstrated through the exploration results, is that they've very quickly been able to assemble a series of very high profile targets to focus our initial exploration work on. And we promised that when we took control of the licenses and we had all the approvals in place, that we will be quick to start exploration work. And within a week of the senior minister signing off the license transfers and so on, we were drilling on the ground with reverse circulation drilling. So we've been active there now for a little while, and we're waiting first assay results to come back. But just in terms of the visible mineralization that they've found in Botswana so far, and the type, style, nature, and tenor of mineralization that they've found, I can only really quote what the managing director of MOD Resources, Julian Hanna, said within his announcement, and that was what they've found so far is extraordinary. And I think that kind of speaks for itself.
I'd agree with that because I watched their share price on the Australian market and it went through the roof when that news came out. It just
Yeah,
rocketed.
that's true. And the thing is with Australia at the moment, it's a bit of a dead market, and nothing really moves the prices unless there's something substantial happens. And they are
Yeah.
quite canny in their ability to spot technically positive pieces of news. And we were interested, we were wondered what would happen on the Australian market, and they brought the share back from a trading halt, and it actually went a lot higher intraday. But I think it might have been touching on 20, 25 it settled down at 17, 18 at the end of the day, but that was 350% higher. So again, you know, the Australian traders, or those who trade on the ASX, had clearly seen the technical merits of that RNS that was released over there. So the teams, Metal Tiger and MOD Resources, are hugely excited and enthused by what we've identified so far. We're obviously really eager to see the assay data. We're doing the best we can to get that assay data out from the labs quickly so we can report it to market. And let's not forget, this is, you know, this is a fairly long road we're talking about that we're embarking on. We don't know quite how long it is, but these early results are quite significant, because they demonstrate that what we thought might be there looks like it is from a mineralization perspective. We just need to target in and identify the hot targets, as it were, and we need to drill them out. So we're being serious, and we've already commissioned the first diamond drill rig to start drilling in April to get us even more specific and accurate data to supplement the reverse circulation work that we have done and we will do going forward.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, just to pick back up on the Australian markets, it's bizarre how they've picked up on it, but the UK market hasn't. But I guess when the data is released, I think investors must notice, you know, something's positive there.
Oh yeah, well, we had a fair old run, in fairness, during the trading halt period when those guys were suspended. We didn't quite have a 350% run or whatever it was intraday, but we had a fair old run. The UK market may be a little bit more circumspect. That you have to remember that we've always maintained that our approach with this business was to go out and try and find the very significant deposits in the chosen commodities and chosen geographies, or the significant assets. We've not been going after the smaller stuff. Now, so far, and it's a long road and things can go wrong along the way, but so far with Botswana, it's looking really good. But the UK is maybe a little bit more reticent. We've had a bit of a move. We'll have to see what happens and where it goes from here. But we're hugely excited, and it gives us, at this time when the team at Metal Tiger is working non-stop, it gives us a huge amount of enthusiasm and buoys us tremendously.
Well, just to pick up on, obviously I don't want to just stick on Botswana, but the Momentous Event Show we attended December last year, I remember I interviewed you on the stairs, and you did say the elephant in the room comment, and people still didn't pick up on it back then.
No.
Do you remember that on the stairs? It was a really posh interview on the stairs.
I think your average investor, you know, and I class myself in the group, is always reticent to take on board that kind of suggestion, because most of the companies on AIM will at some point in their life start quoting that kind of thing. The reality is that we've got, with both Terry Grammer, who's the chairman of Metal Tiger, Julian Hanna, the MD of MOD Resources, we've got people that have made tremendous valuation uplifts happen within companies that they've been involved in. And pretty much it's always around finding major deposits. Not your run-of-the-mill stuff, but really major, significant, and ultimately commercial deposits. So it wasn't tongue-in-cheek. We did mean it. It is and was the elephant in the room. It's a substantial project, and potentially it's a major company maker for both of our companies. We've just got to get on and do the technical work to demonstrate whether that is the case or not, and that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, I've looked at your license and where you're wedged between. Just with your company, just to pick up on this, when we launched back in November 2015, Metal Tiger came on board with us, and you're one of the climbers. You were around spot 7 then when we launched the site, and it's just an amazing story that we've followed you from November to where you are today, and obviously there's more to come.
Did you buy any shares though? That's the thing.
No, I didn't. I've stopped trading. Everybody knows this. I don't want to talk about that actually.
You've got you
No,
look if you believe in companies, you've got to buy the shares. I don't care what they say about this, as long as you declare your
yeah.
position. If you know it's in you might as well generate capital gains for yourself at the same time. I don't have any issue whatsoever with you talking about the companies that you're invested in. If anything, and I'm not blaming you now, but if anything, it's far worse when you've got people who don't have a cent invested in something who are trying to market it and promote it. So yeah, you should be backing some of these companies and making yourself some money.
Well, I could pick up on that because I remember we attended was it Junction 10 of the M6, the Village Hotel, when you guys presented.
Junction 10 of the M6
Yeah,
on the Sunday night.
yeah. But there's I don't know. There's another event on the 9th of April where the Walsall Rat Pack are on
Yes.
the the Village Hotel on Junction 10. We've got Keris and there's Noricum Gold attending. Just so, will you be going or not? Will you be about? Do you think?
No, I won't because I'm overseas.
All right,
I'm actually going to Thailand on Saturday.
all right.
Uh, I will prove this is the case by sending some pictures out on Twitter. Uh, and I won't give anyone any kind of cryptic messages. No, we'll be in Thailand next week.
All
Uh,
right. So you'll be getting on the plane. You'll be obviously turning right, not left.
yeah, yeah. No, the interesting thing is the last time I went, I went in economy, which is normal,
Yeah.
and the plane was quite empty that one. Usually it's really full, and I ended up with three seats all the way along. So it was like having a flat bed, but it was at the back in economy. I like economy because in business class you have no one to speak to. You look at those little pods, and they're isolated and lonely. But if you go to economy, you don't know who the heck you're going to sit next to. You usually have a great conversation, and it's much more fun.
I've got one question from you. Sorry, for you.
Yeah.
It's a strange question. Are you considering a name change from Bots Project to Klondike?
Oh, no.
You know where that's from, don't you? That's from the Metal Tiger DM group.
No, no, because the size, nature, tenor, and style of mineralization that we're talking about in the Kalahari Copper Belt is unique. There's absolutely no need to have any form of name changes whatsoever. If we can demonstrate this, our 14 DMI licenses that we have in joint venture with MOD, demonstrate this to contain significant mineralization, then maybe other places, projects, and so on will be changing their name to the Kalahari Copper Belt. This is this is standalone. It doesn't need any name changes whatsoever. But thank you for the suggestion.
Just to quote an article on mining.com, the copper price has jumped to a 20-week high at the moment, which is quite the thing like at the moment. So the markets are starting to bounce, return.
Yeah, I think we've seen copper. It slumped obviously recently, along with everything else, and we've seen copper really take strides forward. But it's pretty much happening across the commodities complex and the precious metals complex as a whole. So it kind of helps to buoy sentiment a little bit and to give everyone a bit more optimism for the future. But the important thing from our perspective is not so much monitoring the day in day out copper movements now. You've got to be bringing projects through the development phases
Yeah.
and bringing them near to the production phase at the time when your metal prices are higher. People who get their timing wrong and bring these projects near to production when the metal prices are low are on a hiding to nothing. So that's point one. But point two is that, as Terry says to me, I think on a regular basis to make sure I don't stray and think differently. He says the key to this business is to find the high grade, good metallurgy, exceptionally strong commercial projects, so that you can produce metal from them and make some money or a lot of money, no matter what the prices of the commodities are. And that's absolutely key. If you get something that's marginal, and there are so many projects at the top of the market that are very marginal, the moment the commodity price falls away for whatever reason, then these projects become, commercially a nightmare almost overnight. So we're focused on not just big projects, but also those that can deliver commercial production potential, no matter what the underlying metal price is.
Yeah, yeah, I agree totally. Just, I know you've had a busy day. Just to touch on Thailand. Is that okay? Just before you disappear into the night?
Yes, it's
Sound like a
fine.
vampire, don't you?
No, no, don't worry. No, absolutely. Well, Thailand, we want to talk about. We'd obviously like to talk more about Thailand, but we need to push that forward in a number of different ways before we can start to be more vocal in the market about what we're doing and over there.
You just,
But
yeah, yeah, I won't push you obviously, but you're obviously doing a lot of flights to Thailand at the moment.
yeah, we've got effectively a 90% holding, 10% local operating partner in the former assets of SEAM, Southeast Asian Mining in Thailand. These assets, there are a whole range of different licenses, license applications, and so on in different parts of Thailand. But the biggest focus for Southeast Asian Mining and now the Metal Tiger joint venture is a silver lead zinc mine, which is located a couple of 100 miles northwest of Bangkok. Now, the moment you mention that to people, they think that the first question is that what's the road system like to get up to the mine? And I can tell you, it's a bit like driving from London to Manchester,
Right.
except the roads are probably in some parts a lot better, certainly less potholes. Uh, there's more Amazon coffee shops, which is their Starbucks equivalent over there. There are more service stations for petrol and for bits and bobs. There's more industrial units and industrial complexes surrounding the roads. There's more life than you'll ever see in the UK. This is notwithstanding what people think a sophisticated country. Now, in the small run of road up to the mine site previously, it's a perfectly passable road by heavy trucks and so on, but it wasn't in the best condition. And we got to the mine site last time, a couple of weeks ago, and the local authorities are actually building a concrete road up there.
Good grief.
So it's a great place to do business. It's a bit warmer than the UK. The infrastructure surrounding the project is exceptional and is getting better. We're obviously having discussions and negotiations with the mine owners to talk about commercial transactions and how we can work together to look to bring that mine back into production. It's a high grade mine. It's a mine that over its many, many decades of operation generated substantial amounts of product and profits, and we hope we'll do so again. We have silver, lead, zinc there. The surrounding the mine itself, there are special prospecting license applications that we hold in our assets that will enable us to extend the mineralization or for mine processing far wider than has been done before. In the mine itself, there's 12 to 13 years of potential production and maybe some more. But outside the mine, there's potentially a lot more than that. And really, we're trying to find the most efficient and effective route, working with the mine owners to get the mine back processing again. It's a bit unusual, Alex, because it's a substantial underground mine. It's got pretty much all the infrastructure in place with a few bits and pieces needed. It's got a mine processing plant that hasn't operated since 2002, so it's quite a bit rusty, but most of it can be cleaned up and some of it will need to be replaced. And it's really a kind of ready to go producing facility subject to some rehabilitation and mine permitting. So it's unique, and we're quite close to it, and we're hoping to move it forward as soon as we possibly can.
It sounds obviously a couple of hurdles to cross, but it sounds quite exciting for 2016 when you put it together with what you've already got, and then obviously we're not even discussing Spain at the moment with the tungsten, so it's looking quite good for you guys.
Yeah, well, again, very, very big and very, very valuable assets. The That's the key to the business. Now, obviously, in Thailand, we're looking not well, primarily is a fair word. We're looking primarily at bringing that mine back into production, subject to commercial agreements, permitting, and then rehabilitation. Where in Botswana, we've got what looks to be a substantial and potentially very, very valuable copper silver interest. In Spain, we've got the tungsten gold, the results for which we announced last year, where we found extensive amounts of tungsten and pretty high grade, up to 0.63, which is very, very, very good result. We've just signed a deal with Eurasia on the gold tailings, so we'll be moving that gold tailings production opportunity forward. And we've obviously got the Tanzanian interest and a pipeline, Alex. That's about pipelines and what you do.
Yeah.
We've got a big pipeline, and at the moment we've got a very narrow choke on it because there's only so much that we can handle within the Metal Tiger wrapper. Although we may do some additional things in due course.
All right.
If we open the choke a bit, there's so much stuff we've been working on, and if we can field some of that into other AIM and ISDX vehicles, then we can start to generate some shares, share equity, warrants, maybe a bit of cash to bolster our working capital in Metal Tiger, which I'm sure will be a pleasing sight for the investors who at the moment seem to be pummeled with idiots who seem to think it's a great idea to post on discussion boards speculation about placings, which they do on a regular basis. And I'm sure most of them do it because they're trying to get share prices down or cause hurt or harm to companies. I can tell you for Metal Tiger, we have never in our history been in a better and stronger working capital position ever. This is the highest and strongest we've been. Yeah. And it's come about in relatively recently because we've seen the valuation of our shares in MOD Resources, our joint venture partner in Botswana. We've got shares about 5% or so of that company. Yeah. Those shares have gone up dramatically on the back of this Botswanan work. And also, because our share price has gone up a bit, we've had about £500,000 worth of warrants exercised, and that money's come in as cash.
Yeah, we spoke about that before, didn't we? About once your share price started climbing, then all this would kick in.
Yeah, and it feeds nicely into the business and doesn't cause harm to shareholders with rapid dilution that you see so much in the marketplace. I mean, why on earth would you be so idiotic as to grossly speculate across numerous companies that they're about to do placings when there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever for that? I mean, if companies were going to do placings because they needed the money, then for God's sake, let them just get on with it. And the less speculation, the better, and the better able the directors will be to raise funds at a sensible price. If some jerk starts posting on discussion boards about placings about to come, it's going to unnerve investors, it's going to drop the share price, and it's going to make the placing far more difficult and ultimately the discount far greater. Now, either you're an absolute idiot if you do that, or you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah, you've got an agenda.
You have to work out who's who on that. But just to reiterate, Metal Tiger is in the strongest working capital position it's been in ever. And we're offered money as a company. You always get this. At time when your share prices start to move and the volumes start to increase, you get offered money. And I can tell you, we've turned it down.
Okay.
Because we're for a number of reasons. One, because as a company we're well funded, we're in a strong working capital position, we raise money on a sensible basis. And secondly, because we're not about diluting our investors, our existing shareholders, and particularly we're not about diluting them with heavily discounted placings.
Yeah, well, you've got a loyal investment following. We've always said this. I've met a lot of them actually when I've come into the investment evenings.
Yeah.
But the only thing I would say on what you were touching on there is, if you were in the USA now, there would be people being locked up. But because we're in the UK and the FCA are so loose, people can go on social media, Twitter, on message boards, and basically write what they want without merit, without any grounds. It's amazing.
It's beyond me that they don't employ on the message boards a simple mechanism to make people validate who they are. With proper address-based validation using debit cards and so on, they only have to charge a penny for for the privilege, and they can lock you down to exactly where you live, and there is then accountability, and that's important because I don't mind people saying anything about our business and me. It doesn't particularly bother me. Go ahead and do your worst because we're working our socks off, and we're trying to build something of real value.
Yeah.
Both for the UK investors and also for the people that we engage with on the ground in the countries that we're working in. For example, the time mine, if we bring it back, that will bring 400 to 500 jobs in the local area. The size and scale of the project, Alex, is demonstrated when you go there and see that there's an abandoned football field in the centre of the mine that the guys used to use for leisure. Alongside basketball courts, there's a school with 100 plus children in at the centre of the camp. If we bring this thing back, we bring tremendous uplift to the local economy. So go ahead and do your worst on the bulletins boards. But I do find it astonishing that something has not yet been done about making people accountable for what they say. And that means it's very difficult for companies who are subject to a lot of abuse sometimes. They can't actually make people answer, particularly when they tell lies and they spread malicious rumours, which is quite common, and actually does occur on things like Twitter as well, and across the UK discussion boards. So you're right, it's a real shame, but this is the world that we live in, and the way I tend to look at it, to be honest, Alex, is if they're talking about you, that's fantastic, because any publicity is good publicity, and you say what you like. If you go onto a discussion board and you're moaning and complaining about Metal Tiger for whatever reason, then people are reading it. Now, there are some people that are gullible and perhaps will not do their own research, but I think just the fact your name's being mentioned isn't such a bad thing. So it doesn't particularly bother me. Other than there are occasions like this rabid spreading of placing rumours by gibbering fools that really does upset me, because that's not fair. We're strong enough for Metal Tiger. We can fight our own corner. But there are many companies out there that suffer tremendously because of this, and their existing shareholders suffer too, which is what we try and protect the existing shareholders in the company and not screw them, which is important for the future confidence in the business.
I think it's quite amusing, really, because obviously we're involved in social media. But I watch what's gone on with you guys over the months, and it's just people start appearing, the share price goes up. And I've told people as well. We've had discussions with people in WhatsApp and DM groups. So it was all there for you guys to see, what was coming.
Yeah. You can. It's a funny old world, and as long as you continue to build the value of your business and you focus on your work, then if you've got the type of people engaged in the business like we have in Metal Tiger with Terry Grammer, if you've got the kind of projects as we have with Thailand, Botswana, Spain, and so on, then it will come good. But I am a vociferous defender of our shareholder base and of the people who take the money that they've earned through some means, otherwise, many of them through their employment. They take some money, they put it into our company. We have got to do our level best for those people, and we've got to really work hard and protect their capital, not screw them, not do heavily discounted placings and so on. We've got to really look after those people, and that's what we've tried to do all the way through this process, and that's what we will carry on doing as much as we're able going forward. And it's key, and I wish more AIM companies would do that.
Well, you know yourself, Paul, because you're an investor yourself. You're quite a shrewd investor, actually. But like I say, I totally agree with you, and you've got a very valid point.
Yeah, apparently, well, when I buy stock, then I'm a fool for buying it because it's a whole heap of whatever. And then when I sell it for 7 times or whatever, or 2 times or 5 times, or when I do make a decent gain, I'm a money thieving whatever, bleep bleep. Uh, and you can never do any right. The first email I got when Metal Tiger bought Kivo mining stock, he put £150,000 in November, December 2014.
Yeah.
The first email that came in as soon as the announcement went out was, why are you buying into that pile of rubbish? It's a waste of Metal Tiger's money. I'm extremely disappointed with you. And then about a month later, in fairness to that particular individual, I'm kind of paraphrasing because I can't remember the precise words, but that was the essence of it.
Yeah.
Then about a month later, when we sold some shares or whenever we announced it, the same person got back in touch and said, well, I think I got that one wrong. And that's what you get. You can't do any right. There's a lot of good people out there who will make positive comments about the company and what you're trying to do. But there are many people out there that you can never do any right. And it makes the job quite interesting, but it's good fun. We enjoy it here. We're having a great time. We're working really hard. It's not risk free and it's not easy, but we've got a shot to make a lot of money for investors. And as I've always said, and you've probably been at one of these presentations, directors of companies can't sell their own stock.
Yeah.
Because it just sends the wrong message. Now, look, if a member of the board needed 50 grand or whatever or for emergency medical treatment for a member of the family, then I'd be first in the line to say, if you have to sell some shares, we'll tell the market what's going on and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. But apart from those very bizarre situations, you just can't go and dump your stock on the market and expect shareholders to be confident in you.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen it happen in other companies actually, and I've seen the reaction in the markets. It's devastating.
Yeah. So the only way that directors can get a sensible return out of the business, well, I suppose they can pay themselves a whacking great big fortune, but the only way you can fairly get a return from the business is to make a substantial amount of value within the business and then distribute it. In other words, give it away. And that means that you build your assets till a certain point, perhaps when the sector's getting hot in natural resources again. And then maybe you sell something for cash or for shares, and you distribute that cash and the shares to the shareholders. And maybe you could in theory dispose of the whole business, but and then everyone gets cash or shares payment, whatever. There's lots of different scenarios at the end of the cycle, but the key thing is for us as directors to make proper money from the business, we have to generate value and distribute it, and that's what we intend to do. And then we benefit as well. And perhaps, at the end of the process, if it's 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, whatever it might be, we then end up with a shriveled shell where we've distributed everything away. And it then goes and becomes something in the next hot sector. I don't know, sheep farming or something in 5 years' time, in which case we'll change the name to Metal Sheep, Metal Dolly. I don't know. That sounds a bit worrying, doesn't it? But that's our approach, and we're focused on getting that capital out of the business and back to shareholders when the sector starts to get a bit hot.
Yeah, by the way, we've had this conversation, me and you, a few times actually, and I know exactly where you come from. And people listening to this, the Metal Tiger holders, I'm sure they'll be very happy with what you're saying about no fundraising. Well, they probably know that already because they understand the company and they know the fundamentals.
Don't get me wrong. Without a shadow of a doubt, we're a company that will raise money, and we'll raise money through equity placings
when needed.
When the time is right to do so, when the terms are right to do so, when there's and in fairness, for 15 and 16, we've not actually raised any capital at less than the mid price. All the deals when we've struck them and we've done at or around the mid price.
Yeah.
And we've always done it really when we didn't need the money. For many companies raise when they're desperate and they need emergency working capital. We kind of did it when we didn't need it, but when we had expansive plans and we wanted to do a bit more with the business. So we went and got it in. But we will raise money at some point, but we're not going to do it on these devastating terms that you see some of these fundraisers being
Yeah.
done at.
Yeah.
We certainly are in no panic thought or whatever with regard to fundraisings when you've got an extremely strong working capital position. And we're not going to do it just because some Burke on the discussion board somewhere starts deramping the stock by saying placing on the way, placing on the way.
I know. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, keyboard warriors out there, they can do whatever they want. As someone said to me the other day from another public company, there's a lot of people out there who are utterly and totally unaccountable.
Exactly.
But I mean, they've probably got sore fingers because they're bashing away so long on the keyboards that it's. But apart from that, they don't seem to be involved in any disciplined and organised work, and they just attack these companies on a regular basis. No one seems to mind, but we don't care. We're sat with fabulous exploration data. We're sat with tremendous projects. We've got some really good investors. The vast majority of the people that we engage with are wonderful, challenging, questioning, but are supportive and giving us the drive and enthusiasm that we need to do a good job.
Well, the share price speaks for itself at the moment, and this is just the start of the story as far as I'm concerned. Because I've watched you guys since last year when we met at the Masters. And,
Yeah.
definitely interesting story.
Well, if you want to see, the thing is, so people there is a natural inclination to think shares move in a straight line, and a desire to see a constant step. But the market, particularly in the UK, tends to jerk things around a lot, and it is quite volatile. But if you look at, say, Sirius Resources, which is a share that a few years ago went from 5 cents in Australia, from 5 cents to $5 in 8 months, I think it was, and you look at any of these big movers that you see when they find big deposits or big discoveries or big potential discoveries, they don't move in a straight line. If you look at that graph and break it down, you'll see some tremendous uplifts, then some big pullbacks, particularly in the early phases of a share price re-rating process. So people have got to chill out, I think, a little bit with some of these moves and just stay calm. I mean, if you need to sell the stock or you lose the confidence in the stock for whatever reason, then yeah, go ahead and sell it. But don't get panicked out by sudden movements in the market because, as you know, Alex, they very often reverse and go the other way.
They do, and the markets manipulate the share price as well, obviously, as we know.
Yeah, well, they like to trade in range as much as they can. They make a lot of money when the share, as with Metal Tiger, they sell at a penny and buy back at 0.8, and that seems to be quite an established trend, and they'll make a lot of money doing that. But when it breaks out into a bit of a movement, then the trading pattern gets a bit more violent, and it does worry people. I remember a share quite a few years ago. I think it was in the tech space, and it went from all the way. I think I bought the stock originally at 1.5 pence a share, and it rocketed up to 3.5, and then they whammed it back down to 2.5, and I panicked a little bit, and I sold it all out because I thought that was the end. And then 3 months later, I look at the stock again, it was 54 pence.
Oh my gosh.
And this was like, for me, this was like 250,000 shares or something like that. So I put $4,000, I think, into it, give or take, and I sold it out for about 10, and I made a decent amount of money. I kept something like that overall.
Yeah.
But if I'd have held on to it, it was like 130, 140,000 or something at the end of the process, and I got scared, and I want people to just relax with regard to the share price, and there's some of these violent movements. Understand it's not a natural market. This is not a matched market with buyers and sellers. This is a middleman market. And that means that you do get some unusual price movements, and stay calm with it. And be confident in your decision-making process. If you've got any questions about Metal Tiger, just give me a call. My mobile number is, forgive me, it's like an advert, 07766 465 617. That's 07766 465 617. Call me. If you want to email me, it's pauljohnson@metaltigerplc.com. That's pauljohnson@metaltigerplc.com. And whatever, will answer the questions and speak to anybody. And we will do that no matter how small or how big we are, how much the share price has gone up or down any week. We will get back to you. And if we're a bit delayed, it's because we're busy. It's not because we're avoiding you.
Fantastic that. Honestly, Paul, you can tell you're a proper lad.
Well, I am from Manchester, and my first wife was and is a Hartlepool lady, as you know.
She lives 5 minutes from me.
She lives 5 minutes from you.
I don't even know the lady, and she lives 5 minutes from me.
Really? Well, she's a lovely lady.
Yeah, I've never met her, but I know she lives 5 minutes.
I bet you have. It's that in that small area where you are. I bet you have met her without realising it.
I wouldn't have realised.
You can drive past the house and wave if you don't mind.
I'll take my dogs round. They can pee on a fence. Right. By the way, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you again, and then hopefully I'll catch up with you in the future.
We've waffled, haven't we? I'm sorry. Well, I've waffled. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're joking, aren't you? You've made it perfectly clear what's going on, and I might be able to get an economy ticket from you one day to go across to have a look at your site in Thailand.
I tell you what, if our share price gets to 10 pence, I will personally buy you an economy ticket and pay for your expenses out in Thailand, and I'll show you the mine myself. But they're not the company. I will personally pay for it.
Right, the world's heard that, but don't get me a seat near the toilets.
Yeah, you're in row 72, seat number F, which is right next to the toilet queue.
Bollocks. All right, by the way, thanks very much, okay, Paul?
Cheers, thanks a lot. Speak to you soon.